And we're also going to be talking about how do you get to know your audience, which is another piece we'll talk about tonight, which leads to conversation, which hopefully leads to growing your business. So that's where we're going now. Kitty. So in the thinking about the branding side of things and thinking about how you come across, we certainly want you looking your best on these profiles, and you've got to think through not only having good content out there, but also how you look, how your profiles look. And so we're going to be thinking through that in terms of Facebook specifically tonight. You going to bed? Okay. Yeah. This is Daisy, everybody. Daisy, you gotta be quiet, okay? Okay, so first thought is, of course, Facebook with your profile. I'm still surprised at how many people sign up for Soundboard have been on Facebook for years and years and years, and either have a really old image or one that doesn't really fit. So think about photo resolution. You want to think about how your profile looks when you've got it set up, because people are visiting it, and one of the things we'll talk about in a later call is how to use the analytics tools to figure out how many people are visiting it. But there's one feature that I wanted to point out that I truthfully don't know what the timeline is of when Facebook rolled all this out, because I discovered it earlier, or last fall, I guess. But they've got all these things that you can put in your profile. And let's go ahead and hop over to Facebook and I'll walk you through it, because I was surprised at how many pieces of data you could put in it. So if you go to your own profile and then do update info, you've got, of course, the ability to tell a little bit about yourself. This is the overview. But if you'll take a few minutes to fill this stuff out, what it'll do is it'll connect you more thoroughly with people from your past. And so you can put in your work, your school information. But this one really struck me as interesting. Places that you've lived with date stamps. And so, Facebook is a miracle worker with its algorithm. Night, Daisy. I love you. So what it did was, when I put in all the places that I've lived with the date stamps of when I moved there, it combined with some of the people that I had in my friend network. All of a sudden, it made all these new friend recommendations of people that my friends from those locations and those times were connected with. And I had all these new recommendations that, friend recommendations that were really interesting and compelling. And so that when I took the time to do this, I don't know, before Christmas, I got a whole bunch of new friend requests, and I hadn't had that many, in years on the platform. Because once you really get established, with your profile on Facebook, it tends to stop, the volume tends to slow down. And so take the time to do that. Put as much stuff in here as you're comfortable with. I recommend, this is buried far enough down that it's not going to get scraped and picked up by one of those spam bots. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And it does the nice feature of hiding your email. So that does not get scraped. But you can put your Juice Plus site in here. You can put your other social sites. And if you'll take a little while to do that, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with how many new connections that will yield. So be aware of that. Now, when it comes to thinking through some conversation aspects, there's some things about Facebook that I want to talk about tonight that people may or may not be familiar with. But Facebook is not as forthcoming with the way that they operate, I think, as they pretend that they are, if that makes sense. So these first three bullets are straight from Facebook's terms of service, okay, that I dug up. And this last one is from a New York Times article that I found. So let's look at these first three. The first one says Facebook was built on the idea of connecting people with their friends and family. That is still the driving principle of the news feed today. Our top priority is keeping you connected to the people, places, and things you want to be connected to, starting with the people who are your friends on Facebook. Well, okay, that phrase, the things you want to be connected to. Well, how does Facebook know what you want to be connected to? Well, you're connected to the things that you interact with. Okay, so the things that you like, that you share, the people that you like, whose content that you like, whose content that you share. That's what Facebook decides are the things that you like and want to be connected to. So what happens is, over time, the top of your feed becomes very insular, because you're interacting with the same people who are at the top of your feed, because they're at the top of your feed because they're the people you interact with, right? So how do we escape that bubble? Now, if you scroll down far enough down your feed, you would see other stuff, but not many of us scroll for minutes and minutes and minutes at a time. We all hop on, we consume, we flick, we catch some stupid dog video, and then we're off and out. Which leads us to the second point, which says, Facebook says to us, your feed should inform. People expect the stories in their feed to be meaningful to them, and we have learned over time that people value stories they consider informative. Well, what does that mean? Well, of course, if you value it, you're going to think it's informative, but that just means to Facebook that you clicked it, or that you put a thumbs up on it. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the kind of stuff you want to see over and over. If you post these, no offense, okay, there's nothing wrong with these, but those overhead videos of the counter and the people cooking the food, and you see people's hands and they're dumping the ingredients in the bowl and fast forward, and it's like a recipe video, I'm out. I'm done. Those things drive me crazy. I don't know why. I don't like cooking, whatever. But if somebody in my feed posts those, then I'm probably going to unfollow them if they post those on a regular basis. But those things probably got put into my feed because who knows how long ago I might have either accidentally or on purpose liked somebody's post, 2 years ago. And so Facebook's like, aha, you want more of that? Here, have some more. So it gets really redundant really fast with the stuff that shows up at the top of your feed because of something you might have done one time. Which brings us to the third point, your feed should entertain, which is what Facebook is telling us. We found people enjoy their feeds as a source of entertainment. Well, why does Facebook do that? Why do they care what entertains us? Well, what entertains us stops you from scrolling, okay? And it catches your eye. And so that's why people have gotten so good at creating video content that has no sound, because they know that it starts auto-playing in mute. And the dialogue, they start putting the words up at the bottom. So you're reading. And so you realize you've been staring at this video for 2 minutes reading about, some puppy's adventure or whatever. And you can't get your life back. It's 2 minutes gone. So how do we, again, get outside of that just stuff at the top of our feeds and actually make connections starting with our own friend network? Now, this bottom bullet, I will talk more about this next week when we talk about Facebook business pages. But I put it in here for this point. Now, it says between January and May of last year, a 42% drop occurred in publishers' organic reach. That means a business page, Facebook dramatically cranked down your ability to get found by the people who like your page. Okay, and then they dropped it another 10% last summer. But this last sentence is the important part. The drop in the Facebook's business page algorithm emphasized personal posts in the news feed over posts from publishers. So the point is, even though business pages have gone, your personal page has become the place you want to be posting content through, so that you can get found more frequently and get found more easily, because Facebook is devaluing business pages and upvaluing personal pages so that the businesses have to pay more. Okay, of course, that's why Zuckerberg owns an island, that they've got this figured out. So I'm going to skip a slide here, and we'll come back to the other one. But I want you to be aware of this. Okay, we've got two formulas in front of us, and this is how Facebook prioritizes what you see. Well, that's what the first chart is. The second one is they prioritize your relationships. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. Objects have weight, meaning what type of object they are, and then actions, what happens to them. Okay, so Facebook has made it very loud and clear that they want, in 5 years, 100% of content on their platform to be video. Why? Because it stops you from scrolling and it catches your eye, no matter how ridiculous it is. This is why they've introduced Facebook Live. They want people sharing video content all the time. So this object has the most weight. So videos, when you're posting videos either from YouTube or from stuff that you've made, that's going to get the highest amount of, I guess, points, let's say, from Facebook when they think about where they're going to put your post in somebody else's feed. All right, and so at the soundboard, we know this. We're working hard on putting good video content on there for you to share. We just got, you might have noticed some Shred 10 stuff pop up there. I had a great call with Mitra Ray last week, and she's given us permission to start putting that kind of stuff up there. But we're always looking for good video content that's appropriate, doesn't mention competitors, hard to find. But anyway, we're working on that. So the next best thing are photos, and then followed by links, followed by status, which is interesting because when you go to type on Facebook, you know, what does it say? How are you feeling today? Like they want you to tell them, but if you do tell them just with some text, that's the least likely to be seen based on, you know, they don't really think it's that important. Now, when things start to happen to your posts, okay, shares are the most valuable in keeping a post alive past its normal, you know, posting period without it getting pushed down. So if a post starts to get a lot of shares, it's going to continually be put at the top of other people's feeds because Facebook says, this is really, you know, interesting, or other people care about it. So that must mean other people will want to see it, followed by likes, followed by comments, followed by likes, followed by finally by clicks. And clicks are just, of course, if somebody clicks on the link to read the story and get taken outside of Facebook. And that makes sense because they don't want you leaving the platform. So this is what this looks like. And this is a post I found, somebody who is my Facebook friend, Ruth. She is a Juice Plus rep in New Zealand. And so the time stamps here are a little weird because there's so many time zones at play here. But basically, this is a soundboard article that she posted, difference between running and walking. And you can see the first comment came in at on January 20th in the evening. And all the comments are about either I love running or I hate running. And it's, you know, some folks complaining or loving it and back and forth. But look, the last comment came a good 36 hours later. Okay, so this post continued to have life outside of what it normally would if these kinds of things hadn't happened to it. So this is why when you make a post, you know, sometimes it just sinks like a stone, and then sometimes it keeps picking up comments, and even days later it'll pick up comments, and you wonder why. Well, it's because it got stuck back at the top of somebody's feed in your friend network. The normal life of a post, okay, well, great question. So let's look at the second part of this. All right, let's look at this formula. To answer your question, Marie, let's look at this aspect of it. So the decay factor is how long ago a post was created. So the normal life of a post is, I would probably say, in the 6 to 8 hour range, if it doesn't get a lot of attention. Now, if it starts to pick up those shares and comments, it can last days, you know, days and days. And if you keep commenting on it and responding to people, then that will continue to give it life as well. But the big thing I want you to take away from the formula here. So this is how they call it your edge rank. This is your edge rank between you and other users on Facebook. All right. So you and all your people in your friend network are not created equal. And by that, I mean, Facebook does not see every person in your friend network as having the same kind of relationship with you as everybody else. So if you have a Facebook friend that you accepted their friend request in 2011, and you have not thought about them, spoken to them through Facebook, or sent them anything, and the only interaction you had with them was that initial acceptance, you have a very low affinity score with them, which means Facebook is not putting their stuff at the top of your feed. Now, again, if you scrolled for an hour or two, you would eventually see it. It is down there, but it's way down there. The people that you interact with the most, you have the highest affinity score with, and that's whose stuff you see at the top of your feed, which again is why it gets so cyclical, because you only interact with a handful of people ultimately on a frequent basis, and so you only see their stuff, you know, at the top. So how do you, from a prospecting standpoint, reactivate your Facebook network? Okay, so that's the big thought that I want you to take away from tonight as far as how do you do this. All right, so go to your friend network and go through and figure out who in your friend network do you have some kind of a relationship with, who would love to hear from you, but you realize you haven't spoken to them in years and you haven't seen anything that they posted out of your memory, that you can't think about it. So this is a great example. I did an experiment on this probably I don't know, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. So this is one of my best buddies from high school. We went to different colleges. We have never lived in the same town since high school, lost touch. Okay, so he sent me a friend request, I don't know, 2013 or something. And I realized I hadn't spoken to Ben in a long time. And so I went and took a look at his profile, and he posts all the time. He and his wife have fun adventures with their kids. They post the pictures all the time. And I realized I had not seen any of those posts. So they weren't being put in my feed. So I found something, an old band that we liked in high school was doing a reunion tour, and I sent him, I created a post about it and tagged him in it. And then he saw that and commented on it, and then we had this funny conversation back and forth. And now I see at the top of my feed, or frequently in my feed, Ben's posts, and so what happens is Facebook re-upped, or that's not the right word. They increased the affinity that Ben and I have on the platform. So when you're looking at your friend network, I'm sure it's probably bigger than mine. I was not active on Facebook for a long time till I got this job. But the point is, you probably have a bigger friend network than I do. And this is your single warmest market. And only a handful of these people see your healthy living posts. So to shatter that top of the feed bubble, because you're stuck in that too when you post. Not many people see your stuff because of the way that the platform operates. So take the time to dig through this. This is the single greatest Facebook prospecting thing you can do. And go talk to these people on their profiles to start. Go find them, say, and truthfully, you can easily find people that you would love to reconnect with just on a personal level. Of course, you do have in the back of your mind, this could ultimately be a sales move because you want them seeing your stuff, but there's nothing wrong with that motivation because you're also a friendly person and you want to talk to people. So just go post on something or comment on something that they've posted recently that you haven't seen in your feed, and that's going to make your affinity more sticky. And then they're probably going to respond, and all of a sudden they're in that their stuff's in your feed at the top, and your stuff's in their feed at the top. Now the other piece of this is the weight. Okay, so you do want to factor this in. You want to increase the affinity. Good night, love. You want to increase the affinity you have with all these people. You want to think about the weight. Okay, so if you're just throwing out sentence statuses every once in a while, your posts aren't going very far. You want to throw in those videos. You want to, those articles are good, but those photos that we provide on Soundboard, those memes, that kind of stuff's good. And then you want to comment and share other people's stuff so that they'll do the same for you and to you, and you're going to see the top of your bubble expand and expand and expand, and then you really you're gonna get out of that rut. And not to get political, but I think we all got in it this fall and winter when you were either really fired up about the politics, or you just got really sick of it and you might have unfollowed a lot of people. This is how to kind of recultivate a thriving home feed and get outside of those blocks, that you've been stuck in. So that is the thought. That is the Facebook personal profile thought for tonight. Next week, and I will get in touch with Moira about making sure our Zoom numbers are correct. If folks are up for it, we can have 2 topics next week or the following week. We've got three more sessions in 2 weeks to do it in, if we want to knock it out before conference.
I think it's a good idea, James. I'd like to knock this out before conference because it's so valuable, and then everybody can digest it and then use it.
Mm-hmm. And we also have another pretty cool announcement that's going to be coming out at conference. My boss and I are going to be there, so I hope we can connect with you. Yeah, but we have a pretty cool thing that everybody will like, I'm sure, after. Well, we're going to announce it at conference.
Okay, buddy. Thank you so much. This was fabulous. I'm sorry about the Zoom ID mix.
No, well, that was my fault, and I should have thought of it 10 minutes before, more than 10 minutes before the call tonight. So we'll get it worked out for next week.
Okay. Thanks so much. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, y'all have a good night.